Radio. I am the producer, Jeremiah Long, and joining me as always on Mondays is our host, Logan Landers. How's it going, Logan?
Man, I'm doing great, Jeremiah. Beautiful Monday morning outside. I can't complain. How about yourself?
Same exact thing here. So this week, we are covering a man who I haven't got to learn that much about, so I'm really excited to learn a little bit more. Who are we covering this week?
Man, we are covering Raheem Mostert this week.
Oh, well, this is one that I'm not super familiar with, so I'm going to give it a floor over to you, man. Tell us a little bit more about Mr. Mostert.
All right, so as we know about Mr. Mostert, of course, he played for the 49ers this past season, was a pivotal part in getting them to their Super Bowl, their appearance this past year. Of course, they came up a little bit short, but hey, they almost got there. So a little bit of trouble in the land. He demanded a trade from the 49ers this past Wednesday. The main reason being is because he just wants a salary increase. Right now, he wants around what his running back tandem in Tevin Coleman is making, which is about $4.5 million. Right now, Mostert's making a little bit over $3 million on his rookie year contract. He's got about 2 years left, so the 49ers can control, how, if he stays or if he goes. He's just putting it out there that he wants, a contract extension, get a little bit more money, and he'll be happy. If not, he wants out of there. Simple as that. Now, I've been looking around, doing some research, and a few teams that could possibly benefit from Mr. Mostert possibly leaving the 49ers would be the Bills, who are everyone's predicting to have a nice season this year. They have a young core, and their defense is out of this world. People think that they could make a pretty good run this year, but in Buffalo. Also, the Buccaneers, Tom Brady, Rob Gronkowski. What more can I say? Those two have really, made, Tampa Bay the hot spot for anyone to land, this year for sure. Also the Jaguars, only because, right now Jacksonville's in a little bit of a lull situation. And what I mean by that is that, a lot of people don't really know what they're going to be doing. If they're going to be trying to sell, if they're going to be trying to buy. It's kind of a weird situation for them right now. Right now, Leonard Fournette, he wants, there's an issue with that. He doesn't know, they don't know what they're going to do with him. He declined his fifth-year option. And, I think Mostert could really benefit in Jacksonville as they try to, get back to their winning ways because they've fallen off for the last couple of years. But, yeah, I think I don't know if Mostert's going to leave or not, but I think that I feel like they're going to get a deal done and he's going to stay. This isn't he's demanding to get out of there. He's trying to leave it any possible way. He just wants a little bit more money. Now, up on the next slide, we're talking about another man who has had a few contract disputes in Jamal Adams. As everyone knows, he is the star safety for the New York Jets this past year. He's one of the most talented young defensive players in the game right now for the NFL. They're a little bit of a stalemate for a new contract right now, but he's been very vocal about his displeasure with the Jets and not being able to get a new contract. But he also has 2 years left on his rookie deal. His teammate Le'Veon Bell said that he had a good talk with Adams, this past week. And he hopes that he doesn't get traded, being his good friend and all. But, Adams, he's, posted on – there's been videos of him on social media saying he's trying to get out of, New York and go somewhere else. And some teams that I got in the mix are the 49ers, of course, because, heck, why wouldn't you want to go there? Went to the Super Bowl last year, already have a stacked defense, a solid offense. Adams would fit in perfectly there. The Seattle Seahawks, we know they've always been talented defensively. He would be a great fit there in the safety. Also, Dallas Cowboys, man. Dallas Cowboys have a bright future ahead of them. They're probably going to make a big splash this year, probably go pretty far in the playoffs, I believe. And Adams is, there's a video leaked on Twitter where he was talking to a fan saying he's, trying to get to the Cowboys. So he preferred the Cowboys. I don't know. This is one where I see that they could let him go if the pieces are right. Because, he doesn't, it's obviously he doesn't want to stay there because of all the money and he's just not a fan. But he, if the Jets and whoever he trades for, whoever he gets traded to can, find something to agree upon, then I think Adams could be gone in the next couple of weeks, maybe next month, who knows. But I don't see him sticking around in New York for a long time being. And for the last one, we got another man on the next slide. We're talking about the NCAA conferences. Now, everyone knows with coronavirus and everything going on that football and every other sport has been, turned upside down and no one knows what's going on. Well, a little bit of resolve has happened this past week. The Big Ten and the Pac-12 conferences are going to be conference only, meaning that they won't play teams outside of their conference to restrict traveling and whatnot. Also, the ACC and the SEC will decide what they're going to do in late July. So we'll be coming to you with a video on that whenever they decide. But for now, there's just a bunch of speculation. So the real question, after learning about the Big 12 and all that, where the heck does Notre Dame? Where's Notre Dame going to go? They're an independent, as we all know, but they play 6 ACC opponents this year, so they're primarily going to be ACC only. But I mean, they still have another few games left. So are they just going to stay with that, or are they just they got to figure something out? So that's the only kind of curveball with Notre Dame being an independent school and all of this. You just don't know where they're going to go. But overall, I think all the conference, everything going on with it, it'll be resolved fairly quickly. You're not going to see a few of the marquee games that you like to see, but I mean, overall, as long as there's football to be played, I'll be happy. That's just my thoughts. Yourself, Jeremiah?
Man, it's the question of the day, of course, where people will land. I do like that because of these changes, people are starting to make these decisions that they wouldn't have made about conference play, about where people really land. And I think it'll become an important factor years from now. I think some of the decisions they make now will definitely affect the future of college football. It wasn't that long ago. It was maybe 3 seasons ago that we started the playoffs in college?
Yeah, it hadn't been long.
Yeah.
It's been, 3-4 years, something like that.
Yeah, so that was already a big change that nobody thought they would actually make, because I think that there's something to be said to the way things are, quote unquote, thinking that that's the way that they will always be. And I think it just takes a little bit of shaking of the tree like this for us to find out that we probably should and probably need to take a look at the way things are laid out and the way that conferences play each other. It's all about money. So, the big games that, people travel really far for tend to be because their fan bases on this team and the fan bases of this other team. When they get together, they generate a lot of revenue for both teams. It's also partially about schools themselves. The recruiting classes for the football teams are always mentioned, but they never really get to mention the recruiting classes of the literal classes at the schools that they get for this kind of clout that they get for having these prominent teams. So I think now is a really good time to take a huge examination of all of that information. And with everybody, making hard decisions for themselves as individuals, as teams, as clubs entirely, I could see some real big changes coming out of this. We don't know where some teams could land outside, with Notre Dame. They've got, some decisions to make where they want to end up playing, and they might have to have those hard decisions at least for the next season, potentially the next 2 seasons. So those things are all going to affect everything. What about you? What's your final word on those?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it's going to be just a for sure shakeup. Whenever the college football playoff format came in, some people were skeptical because, for the longest time, it was just who's going to be the, number 1 overall team and whatnot. But, we've seen the last few years with the playoffs, man, they've been great. Every game has been exhilarating. You've watched, you've seen some great teams come out of it, and you've seen a lot of hard-fought games. And I've personally enjoyed it, the playoffs myself.
I was going to ask you, do you think that there's any room or possibility in their thought for maybe having an interconference, interconference champions send off their big winner to a final playoff, that kind of idea?
I could possibly see that. That would make some good sense. I would say, they usually take a few weeks off, to kind of get traveling and all, because like I said, we've never experienced anything like this. You got to make sure all the players are safe.
Absolutely.
Find like a neutral site, like Florida or wherever, just throwing something out there. I know they've played in Atlanta the last couple of years, Just, have a neutral site for all the, interconference championships, just basically do the same thing you've been doing, but, just limit fans, all that good stuff. And I think they could make it work for sure.
Yeah, what I'm hoping that they do is they take one of the big stadiums, or maybe one of the stadiums that's just recently stopped being used. And I don't have a great example of some of them, but I know, with at least here in Atlanta, when they built Mercedes-Benz, that meant the other stadium went to disuse, right?
Georgia Dome, yeah.
Yeah, and then they tore it down. But if there is another stadium, which there's got to be a couple stadiums like that hanging out or in the wings, or potentially maybe if it's about lucrative money deals, then maybe somebody like the Dallas Cowboys Stadium decides to do this. And they take and place, virtual seating within that so that people could attend. If you want to be on the 50-yard line, we've got a 3D, we got a 360 3D camera sitting right there at that mark. You got to pay for it. But if you want the nosebleed and you still want to attend live, be in the stadium, be able to watch the game live from a seat, And, I could see them setting up, a huge network of cameras around a specific stadium and just leaving them there. And so when conference plays and championships come in, if they did have that one neutral site that everybody played in, you could essentially eliminate the in-person crowd, but still have a live crowd watching through those cameras. And I could really see some money being made off that and them really doing it. But it's going to see, for me, I'm always thinking about the technological aspect of things. And, it would be a huge undertaking to set up 100 3D high-end cameras in a stadium like that. But wouldn't it be beautiful if people could come to the games, sit at the 50-yard line if that's what you paid for, sit on the upper decks in the corners if that's what you paid for, or if that's where you prefer to be at, or potentially even giving people the ability to virtually move seats because one single camera could host hundreds of people's streams. Mm-hmm. So it'd be interesting to see people have the option to sit anywhere they want in the stadium at any, during the live game, right. Potentially even to move during a replay to watch from a different angle. And I feel like there's some money to be made there. And if there's money to be made, somebody's thinking about it. Okay. So I'm hoping somebody's putting together a really broad proposal from the broadcast broadcast sports side, that's where our genre is. So hopefully somebody's really thinking about that, and they're thinking, hey, there's a lot of money to be made from this. There's going to be places where people are going to have these neutral site championship games, and it's very possible we won't be able to have any people in attendance. So we need to start thinking about how we're going to cover these games beyond the normal camera angles. So I definitely see that as a potential. So I really like this format with this weekly lineup. Logan, why don't we decide to bring this back every week?
Hey, I'm down for it, brother. Let's keep going.
Great. Well, for everybody watching from home, if there's any special news or anything breaking news, any type of thing you want us to cover, make sure to comment on this particular video so that we can get some information. And we're probably going to do whatever it is that between us and the fans want. We're going to get it out there.
Hey, you got to keep the fans happy.
Absolutely. Well, for 100 Yards of Football, Sports Talk Radio, I'm the producer, Jeremiah.